We're still reviewing the XT1 and seeing if it is a viable camera for 2019. With the upcoming year, there's lots of new camera models out there, lots of fancy talk about megapixels and autofocus and all the different things that are improving, the video quality improving, 4K, do you really need 4K? I don't know what the answer is to these questions, so that's what I'm trying to find out. I think for the average user, the answer is no, you don't need that stuff. It's fun to have, it's good to have, but I don't think it's necessary. And from the testing I've done so far, I've been extremely pleased with the results. So let's talk about some of the pros of the Fujifilm X T1. It's always fun to start with the positives. The CMOS sensor that's built into the XT1 is an X-Trans CMOS 2 with an EXR processor 2. Now they have advanced to the 3 and I believe maybe even the 4 at this point, which always means better ISO, probably more megapixels, but it's still the same size sensor. They haven't changed the size of sensor. They have said that they will never make a full frame sensor. This is because they want to protect their customers' investment in the glass. And I really actually appreciate that. They're putting all of their effort into glass that is specific for CMOS sensors or CMOS sensors. That's one of the reasons why Fuji has been given accolades for the quality of their glass. The second advantage is that it does produce a 16 megapixel image. Sometimes that doesn't sound like much when you're looking at the newer cameras and they're all in the 20 to 24, 26, and some of them are even up around the 48, 50 megapixel range. So when you start talking about 16 megapixels, it seems like maybe that's not enough to make an image. But you have to remember that back in 2012, 2014, the very best cameras were in that range. And those are the ones that were used to print the huge, amazing images that we saw back then. This sensor and the image size is more than capable of producing a 20 by 30 print that is amazing quality. So I don't think there's any issues there unless you're going to print images on the side of a bus stop where people are going to be standing right next to the image. Then, yeah, the megapixels might make a difference. The second advantage or pro that I find with the XT1 is that it is a solid magnesium frame and that it's weather resistant. That doesn't mean you're going to go scuba diving with it without some sort of waterproof casing. Water resistant and waterproof are two different things. But the camera is built exceptionally well. It's very, very solid in the hand. It feels good in the hand. The shape reminds me of all of my favorite Nikon cameras. Now, it's not surprising. Fuji and Nikon do have a relationship. They have in the past. So it's not too surprising. Being made out of magnesium, having the weather sealing, that is an advantage because you're not worried about your camera as much. It's more of a solid chunk of metal. It feels good in the hand. It's solid. But at the same time, it's not heavy. It is made out of magnesium, so it's not a heavy camera. The fourth pro for the Fujifilm X T1 is the available optional grip. I currently have the bottom grip on the camera. Now this adds a completely extra grip to the side of it that allows when you're shooting in portrait to have a shutter release button, all of your control buttons that you're used to at your fingertips. Now they are in a slightly different place than they are over here, so it's a little bit of an adjustment, but it's fantastic to have that ability. It also adds a little bit of mass to the camera. Some people might find the camera without some sort of base plate a little bit lightweight. So the fifth pro is going to sound like a con. The fifth pro is that there's no built-in flash. That sounds strange, but built-in flashes on cameras suck. Always. They always suck. The built-in flash usually is sitting right about this location. Your lens is sitting right here. The center line to your lens and where the flash is going off is far too close. You always see cameramen with their flash off to the side. That's because they're trying to get off axis of the lens so it doesn't flatten the image to keep the depth of field that they're looking for. Fujifilm does include the EF-X8. This is a little teeny flash. Doesn't look like it would do much, but it slides into the flash shoe and then flips up. And you can see how much higher and off axis that is than a built-in flash. Much better performance. Now, it doesn't put out much more light than a built-in flash, but a little bit. One really cool thing about it is that you can use it as a controller. You can put it into a controller mode or a master mode that allows you to set off other strobes that you have set up around your scene. So you can control it with your other flashes and then get all your primary light from your side flashes, backfill flashes, halo flash, all that stuff. So it's nice for that. You can use it for a lot of different things. It's really nice. The 7th Pro is that you get that amazing Fujifilm look to your images. This is something that photographers have been raving about since the film days. Fujifilm film, the Velvia, the Chroma. I mean, they're known for producing amazing images on film. This is an advantage that they have over almost all of their competition, possibly all of their competition. I haven't researched it as closely as I should. But they have decades and decades of experience producing real film. They understand how to make an image look a way that's pleasing to the eye. So that gives them a massive advantage when it comes to figuring out algorithms for their sensors and how they're going to bring in the light, and then how that light is going to be read by the chip, and then how the chip is going to produce the image. Or the processor, I should say, not the chip. But that's an amazing advantage, and that's why Fujifilm is known for their image quality. I would suggest checking it out if you haven't looked at some of their options for just quick settings in a camera and seen what comes out in JPEG form. It's quite amazing, quite amazing. So the 8th Pro for the Fujifilm is one that I touched on a little bit earlier, and that's the glass. Fujifilm has dedicated themselves to making glass for this system. They only make CMOS sensors or CMOS sensors, so they don't make a full frame line. This is their top of the line until you get to medium format. So they focus heavily on this glass, on their medium format glass. That's another massive advantage. It means that you're going to get, in what other companies would consider their lower line, you're going to get their best output, which means great glass. The 9th Pro is also related. There is amazing aftermarket options for glass in manual form. I mean, right down to a 35 millimeter f0.95. It's a Bokeh King. I haven't used one yet personally, but I've been looking at the images that people are getting off of that lens, and it's phenomenal. I'd love to get a hold of one of those. Now, of course, they're manual focus, but when I'm sitting in one location like this, being able to use that when I'm shooting outside to just take out all the distractions would be amazing. So the options of the second party lenses is really building up and getting quite nice for the Fujifilm line. I'm waiting for some other people to figure out how to make them autofocus. That would be a nice thing to have, but in most scenarios, manual focus is far superior to autofocus. And Fujifilm does build into the camera a really nice focus peaking system that allows you to get right down to it and look at it. Now, the Fujifilm glass that I've owned and currently own is just the kit lens, the 18 to 65 or 18 to 55. It's a 2.8 to 4, and to be honest, it's one of the best kit lenses I've ever seen. Now, I've had Nikon kit lenses and I've had Canon kit lenses in the past, and just nothing compared to the build quality. This is an all metal lens. Every other kit lens I've ever had has been plastic. It's all glass. It's got quality elements. It's just a quality piece of machinery. Now, I also have, I guess I didn't get it out, so I didn't set it out to show you, but I also have the 18f2. Not Fuji's greatest lens, but to be honest, I get good pictures out of it. I'm quite happy with it. It's just not as tack sharp as some of their other lenses. It was my first lens purchase. I didn't do much research, and I should have. There are other better lenses to get. I wish I would have gotten a hold of the, I don't know, maybe the 50f2. That looks like a really, really nice lens. I also would prefer over having that, over having the 18f2. I'd prefer to have the other kit lens, the 55-200. You know, it's compact, it's nice to carry around. They don't have the greatest f-stops, you can't really separate background, but good quality lenses for, you know, a travel lens, a carry around lens, shooting, even shooting landscapes. Great lens for that. So that's the one I'd probably prefer to have over the 18mm, but it is what it is. And one of these days I will get one of those. So the 10th Pro is that it does take video. It does take high definition 1080p video. Now the other side of that is it doesn't take 4K. It's not the greatest at autofocus, but for the things I'm doing so far, I'm very happy with it. I have not yet tried to videotape any type of sports, and I don't think it would do great, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. The 11th advantage is that it's mirrorless. Now, inherently, that means it's lighter weight, so that produces one of the advantages that I talked about before. Secondly, you don't have a mirror flopping around inside the camera like we've had forever. It doesn't exist. So it's easier to shoot a smoother image with it. Along with that, it makes cleaning the sensor a snap. You don't have to worry about mirror flip up and keeping it up there, keeping your power on, whatever you have to do to clean your other sensors. All that's kind of out the window. You just take the lens off and swab your sensor and you're clean and good to go. 12th Pro, you can get it for under $400. That's crazy. I got it with everything, with every option for $450. You don't have to get all the options. You can just get the camera, and it's going to be $350, somewhere in that range. And for that money, you can't beat it. You literally cannot beat it. It's an amazing piece of equipment. The build quality, it's the last of the XT line, I believe, that was actually made in Japan. Now they're made in China. It doesn't mean the build quality went down, but Japan is known for making amazing quality cameras, and this is no exception. No exception. Now, from what I've seen from the other reviews, the quality didn't go down with the Chinese versions, but you know, longevity will tell us. It will tell us whether it went down or not. So let's get to the cons. You know, that's kind of my list of pros that I put together so far. I might come up with some more, but I think it's a pretty solid, good list of reasons that the camera works and is still good in 2019. So let's see the cons for this camera in 2019. It's only 16 megapixel. I know I said that was a pro. I know, I told you, hey, that's a pro, that's good. But, you know, if you're going to print above 20 by 30 at max, you know, you're not going to be viewing it very close. You know, pictures are not meant to be viewed that close. But I know some of you out there are pixel peepers. I'm guilty of it myself. It's one of the reasons why I bought the D800, 36 megapixel. I was enthralled at the time. I loved it. I couldn't believe how far I could zoom into my image. You know what? I never printed out anything big enough to show it off. Not once. Not one thing. It was just me getting excited, looking at pictures on my computer, how far I could zoom in, how much detail there was. Print it out and you'd see none of it. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Number 2 is the size of it. It is small. Now, to me, that's a pro, but to some people, that's a con. Some might think it feels chintzy in their hands because it is, gosh, it's half the weight of the D800. It's half the thickness of the D800. And this whole camera would fit into this part of the D800. So it is a tiny little thing. I know in the videos I watched, I thought it was bigger till I got it in my hands. You see it by yourself, it doesn't look that small. But you hold it, and if you've held any of the other professional cameras out there that are full frame with a mirror, you will know this is a small camera. So to some people, it just might not feel right. To me, once again, that's actually a pro. So it's all from perspective. Now, the third con that I came up with is there are now better cameras available. Just fact, there are. It's been 5 years. There are lots of better cameras available out there. You could go out and buy the X-T3 and have the latest and greatest with 24 plus megapixel. Amazing autofocus for video, amazing autofocus for tracking when you're shooting action. Just a better camera all the way around. 3 times as much money. Just for the body, 3 times as much money, maybe 4 times, depending on how much you get a used one for. That's up to you whether it's worth it, but that is a con that you have to consider. Now, number 4 is that I have no idea how long Fujifilm will continue to update this camera's firmware. I don't know. The pro side of that is the latest firmware update they did for it was this month of 2019 or 2018. So December of 2018, they put out an update that helped it to use one of their newer lenses. As long as they continue to do that stuff, I'll be flabbergasted. It means it's a camera that will be good for decades. And a lot of people are looking for an heirloom camera, something that's just going to work for a long time. Now, something like a Nikon D100 was not that camera. The images were terrible. It was cool because it was producing digital images. That was the thing at the time, was like, wow, I can make an image and it's digital. I can mess with it. I can play with it. I can do things to it. That was cool. But the quality of a 6 megapixel camera at that time was just not there. Not only build quality, but the image quality and the build quality. So it wasn't an heirloom type camera. This, I can't see until the sensor burns out, which will happen. I can't see looking at the images and thinking, man, I wish I had a better camera. I just can't. They're phenomenal images. I don't know how I got back onto longevity, but oh yeah, the heirloom. So as long as they continue to update it, it's great. Phenomenal. Once they stop updating it, its life will start to dwindle. And that's because new lenses will come out that it won't function with, and new features will come out on other cameras that will become necessary. Not that they're necessary because we don't have them now, but they'll become mentally necessary. We'll want them. We'll have to see what happens. Number 5 is the negative downside of it would be that the parts are expensive. So for example, we were talking a little bit earlier about the grips. This grip was $200 plus when it was new. I mean, that's an expensive piece of equipment there. This grip, this is the extended side grip that extends the base of it slightly and gives you an Arca Swiss connection. So any tripod that has the Arca type clamp, you can use this on. That's a really awesome option. It also centers your tripod mount so that if you want to use the tripod mount, you are centered on the lens. Also awesome. Pretty much necessary if you're going to do any type of panoramic photographs. But this was over $140 for this piece of metal with a little bit of rubberized leather or whatever that stuff is. I don't know if it's rubber or leather. It's probably rubber. But these were $140, man. And once again, the advantage of age comes in because you can get all of this stuff for much less. For example, I would sell this for $50 and somebody would be extremely happy with it because it's phenomenal. It's really nice to use. The only reason why I'm not using it is because I have the full grip and I prefer it. I just happen to prefer to be able to shoot portrait with my hand on this side of my face, avoiding this. This causes wrist problems. I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So, and plus this is more stable. Your body, your arm into your body, creating more stability, allowing you to get that shot that much sharper. Downside would be the expense of everything you want to add to it, but the fact that it's 5 years old makes all that stuff cheaper. So if you bought one of the newer ones, you'd have to consider that. If you wanted to get the grip for it, you'd have to pay the new price because people aren't selling their used ones yet. 6 is that the ISO is not as good as the newer cameras. So once again, we're comparing what can we get today and what do we need. The ISO, I have not gone out and done my bar test yet. I normally go out and shoot in one of the darkest bars I've ever seen, the Neurolux. But it's one of the darkest, dingiest bars in the world, in my opinion. And I've shot a lot of concerts in there. There's a lot of fun bands that come through. And I've always been able to come out with usable images, even when I was shooting with my D2H. You'd have a hard time pushing that thing to 3200. A really hard time. It would get extremely noisy. If I could shoot in there with that, I'm assuming, it's an assumption because I haven't tried it, but I'm assuming that the Fuji is going to perform flawlessly. Number 7 of the cons would be the autofocus when it comes to tracking or when it comes to shooting video. In those two scenarios, it's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. So if you need perfect autofocus at all times, and that's the way you want to shoot video, or you are going to go shoot live action of something that's moving pretty erratically, one of the newer cameras is definitely going to serve you better. So I would recommend trying one of those out. For me, that's it. That's the pros and the cons I've come up with on this little beauty. Okay, so apparently I cut off my audio when I was saying goodbye. That was stupid. I don't know what I cut off. So hey, thanks for watching tonight. If you guys enjoyed the review, please click the subscribe button. Helps out the channel. Click the little bell if you want notifications when I put new videos up. I'm just getting started, so building up the page, and everyone subscribing helps. I appreciate your watching the videos, and I hope you all have a great Christmas. I'm not sure if I'll get any more videos up between now and then, but I'll try. If you guys have any other things that you'd like to chat about, talk about, just feel free to ask any questions or make any comments below. Feel free to make fun of me, whatever you want to do. I hope you guys all have a great one. Take care and have a good night.